Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show, which is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool to find the right size for your digging project. Visit powerplanter.com. Now here are your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
Welcome back to the program. So glad you've hung around. You want to listen and learn about from our guest this week. Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in our guest.
Atina Diffley is an organic farmer, public speaker, and author of the 2013 Minnesota Book Award winner, Turn Here Sweet Corn, Organic Farming Works, a memoir based on Atina's life running the Gardens of Egan Organic Vegetable Farm. Welcome to the program, Atina.
Well, hello. So glad to be here.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us on the program and not only enlighten Holly and myself, but all of our listeners across the country. We want to start with where did the ideal for your book, Turn Here Sweet Corn, come from? Because everybody has these very unique stories about how certain things in life inspired them to take that next step or create that masterpiece of their that they've shared with people.
Well, it's the garden, and you have a gardening show, so I'm sure all your listeners know how inspiring the garden is. And just that daily interaction in the garden where you're just seeing nature right there and its relationship to food is so exciting. And my customers don't get to experience that, so they were real hungry for those stories.
Was there actually a sign that said "Turn Here for Sweet Corn," or was this?
Yeah, right at the side of the road. We had a roadside stand for 36 years in Egan, Minnesota. So that was the introduction to turn into the roadside stand.
What is Turn Here Sweet Corn all about? What's the when our listeners get the book? What's their expectations when reading the book?
Well, it's really about our relationship with the earth, the plants, the animals. It's a love story. It's a lesson in entrepreneurship, and it's even a legal thriller because we had a lawsuit with the Koch brothers. So people really enjoy winning and getting empowered through that whole story. But, fundamentally, it's about the relationship we all have with the land that feeds us, whether or not we ever know where that land is.
Yeah, some people think that the food comes from aisle 9 at the grocery store, and that's simply not the case. And that's what we make it very. Our niece and nephew are 9 and 5 now, and they are very aware of where things come from and are excited when they get to go into the backyard to harvest what they have planted.
Yeah, we had a couple of experiences in our farming career that profoundly changed our life. One of them was losing our first farm to development. And when that happened, it was an ecological collapse. So we saw firsthand how we as farmers were dependent on all these other species in our landscape that we had really taken for granted. They were quite invisible to us until they were gone. And then they were very visible in their absence. So that's a big part of the book, is going through that experience and letting the readers see that firsthand themselves. Through the character's experience.
It's amazing how one domino that you may not think is going to affect anything can greatly have catastrophic results.
Yeah, once the bulldozers, they removed every tree, every bush, every blade of grass. They even sowed the living topsoil. And once they did that, any agricultural crops that we had in the vicinity, we got overrun by disease and pests. We didn't have any life to hold the water. When it would rain, it would run off. So we quickly saw there's all these ecosystem services that we were just getting from the other species on the land that we took for granted. Never again.
Now, with that, going into that, the diversity, what is soil biodiversity and why is it important to all types of vegetable growers?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting when you start learning about what's in soil. It's a very complex ecosystem. There's bacteria, algae, fungi, protozoas, earthworms, insects, small vertebrates, plants. Most of them aren't even visible to the naked eye, but they're providing all these ecosystem services, water storage and purification. We hear about climate change every day now. Carbon sequestration is a huge service of the soil biodiversity, holding the carbon intact in the soil so that it won't bleach. with the rain or wash away. It's the complete recycling system for nutrients. When things die of any species, they get recycled in the soil and then taken up by the plants again. Once they're taken up by the plants, they're intact. So it just goes on and on and on. But the complexity of it is immense. Pest and disease control is often a big part of soil management, that it has microbial life in it that will help manage the pests and disease that could attack our plants.
And you bring up a very detailed plan there of how nature takes care of itself, and that's what we encourage when we talk to gardeners at their backyards, that you don't need to go buy gallons of harmful chemicals. Just let nature take care of itself. Yeah, there's some things that we have to kind of interact with a little bit, but if we allow nature to do what nature has always done and seems to know how to do this stuff pretty well, then we don't need to use those harmful chemicals that can disrupt those procedures that have been set in stone for since the beginning of time.
Exactly. Nature has those systems worked out, and we've disrupted our systems so much in the United States and most of the world that when you first stop using chemicals, at first it can be really challenging because those systems aren't in place, but they will return. So if you can get through those first couple of years, it usually gets a lot easier.
Now, you had won a huge ecological lawsuit, as you mentioned, with the Koch brothers. Please tell us more about that.
Yeah, we were threatened. We lost our first farm development, and we moved to a second farm. Got it, put it through cleanup, and had it certified organic, and we're running a successful farm. And we were threatened by a crude oil pipeline owned by the Koch Industries. So what we did was we intervened in the legal proceeding, and we argued that an organic farm is a valuable natural resource, like a wetland is, and it should be avoided when feasible and protected if it could not be avoided. So that was just really fascinating because we were able to demonstrate in court all these ecosystem services that are provided by organic farming systems that go beyond the food produced, because the fertility system is based on soil building and increasing carbon. We could show carbon sequestration. We could show reduced water runoff and pollution in the rivers, et cetera, because our insect management system is based on having beneficial plant species to attract beneficial insects. We could show benefits to society in pollinators and intact ecosystems. So we could just show all of these systems and then quantify these ecosystem services. So in a court of law, to protect something, you have to show how it will impact human beings. That's how our legal system works. We can't just say there will be a loss to nature. We have to show the loss to humans. And that is what we did. We showed that these agricultural systems, organic agricultural systems, are providing more than just the food. So that was just really wonderful because it educated the judge and it educated the Public Utilities Commission, and that is now affecting decisions they've made since. So one of the big things I really learned in that case was how, as citizens, ordinary citizens, we really have these opportunities to educate people who are in decision-making positions and influence how things are decided and what decisions are made. So do get involved, do write letters when you have those opportunities. When you see an opportunity like this to change a law, take it. And we were able to create an agricultural mitigation plan for organic farms in Minnesota that does protect them now. And other states have copied it. Wisconsin is one of the states that have copied that plan since then. So you have that plan now too, and many energy companies have copied it.
Well, and with you being able to, and many people know who the Koch brothers were and are, their pockets go bottomless when it comes to financial and money, and you were able to defeat the Goliath, so to speak, because you had the proof, because you showed in a court of law, this is what is actually occurring, and this is what's going to happen if you do X, Y, and Z. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, you had like 4,500 letters written in support of you for this case as well?
Well, yeah, we turn to our customers, and we're just a local farm. We only sell in our community here in the Twin Cities area. But we turn to our customers and just ask them to write a letter to the judge, telling the judge how they would be affected if our farm was gone. And we said, just write about your personal experience. These letters were amazing. There were letters from doctors who prescribed organic food to their customers. There were letters from chemically sensitive people who said the food from our farm was the only food that didn't make them sick. There were letters from people that said 4 generations of their family had been eating food from this farm, and that they plan their every summer family reunion in August so they can get sweet corn and watermelon from here. But those letters were very important because the judge has to read every single one of them, and they were a big part of educating the judge.
To put him in a position that he could make a decision that was not biased one way or another, but was actually according to the law, because sometimes we see these judges lean one way or another based on influences is not always the correct way to do such.
Yeah, and what you just said is really important. You have to give the judge data that they can make a ruling on. Otherwise, it would be against, they can't just say it because they believe it's right. You have to give them the evidence to substantiate the decision that they're going to make.
Absolutely. Well, Tina, how can our listeners find out more about you? Where can they go on the web to find more and get your book?
Sure. Well, they can read my book, Turn Here Sweet Corn. It's a fun way to learn about all these topics because it's written like a novel. It's a true story memoir, but it's a fun read. They can go to my website, which is my name, AtinaDiffley.com, and they can find links to the book there. They can find excerpts from the book. And I actually have all of the legal documents from the pipeline case on my website. So if anyone is dealing with anything similar, they're free to download those and use any language from them that is useful to them.
A great resource. Well, Tina, we greatly appreciate you taking time and coming on the program and sharing your story with Holly, myself, and all of our listeners across the country.
My pleasure, and thanks for working with gardeners. They are some of the most important tasks in the world is growing food.
Absolutely.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.